Welcome to Beacon English Podcast. Today we are doing a deep dive into something that I think for a lot of English learners can feel like the biggest puzzle piece for fluency.
Phrasal verbs.
Exactly. Phrasal verbs. So we took a script, one that was really meant for absolute beginners, just tracks a person's daily routine, morning to night.
Right.
And from that, we've pulled out the 10 most essential, high-utility phrasal verbs you're likely to use.
And that beginner script is, well, basically a goldmine. Because the difference between sounding like you're reading a textbook and sounding like a natural English speaker, it often comes down to these little two-word teams.
So our mission today is to give you a shortcut, really. A shortcut to fluency by analyzing the surprising details of these foundational words.
Precisely. Because a phrasal verb is just a common verb, something like get or look.
Things you already know.
Things you already know. Combined with a little particle. A small word like up, off, or for. And that tiny word completely changes the meaning. You know what get means, but get up is a totally different thing, and that's what we're going to unpack.
We put these 10 verbs into 5 logical pairs, all tied directly to your daily life, so hopefully they'll stick instantly.
So let's start right at the beginning, the very first thing you do in the morning. Or the first two things.
The first, and maybe the most important distinction, is the difference between wake up and get up. They seem so similar.
But they describe two very separate moments in time. Wake up is purely mental. It just means you stop sleeping.
Okay, so your eyes open.
Your eyes open. Your alarm clock doesn't get you up. It helps you wake up. The state of being asleep is over.
I think we all know that feeling. I definitely wake up around 6:30 when the sun comes through the window. But then I realize I have 15 more minutes before my alarm actually goes off.
And that little moment there, it leads us right to the second action, get up.
Which is the physical part.
Exactly. It's the physical movement. It means to physically leave your bed. So if you wake up at 6:30 but you lie there scrolling on your phone,
which I definitely do,
then you might only actually get up at 6:45.
And that's a really useful way to describe that situation. If someone asks why you're late, you could actually say, I woke up on time, but I didn't get up right away. It's so much more precise.
It gives you that conversational precision. First, the brain stops sleeping. That's wake up. Then the body moves. That's get up.
Okay, so we're up. We're physically out of bed. The next thing we do is interact with our world, which brings us to our next pair. Turn on and turn off.
These two, they have to be two of the highest frequency phrasal verbs in all of English. We use them for everything with a switch or a button.
Right, so turn on is simple. It's to activate something. When I get out of the bedroom, the first thing I do is turn on the coffee machine. That's a top priority.
Of course. And its opposite, turn off, is just as important. It means to deactivate something, to stop the power. You turn off the lights when you leave a room.
You turn off your computer before you leave for work.
Right. And this is where we can get into some of the more technical side of things. This is where it gets interesting.
So let me ask you this. Can I say, I turn the light on? Or do I have to say, I turn on the light? Because I feel like I hear both.
That is a brilliant question. And it's really the core linguistic hurdle here. Turn on and turn off are what we call separable.
Separable, okay.
It means you can literally put the object, the thing you're turning on, in the middle of the phrasal verb.
So both are correct.
Both are perfectly correct. I turn on the light and I turn the light on.
So if I'm speaking quickly, I might just say, turn on the TV.
Exactly.
Huh?
But, and here is the really critical rule. If you replace the noun, like the PV or the light, with a pronoun it or them, that pronoun must go in the middle. You have to say, I turn it off. You absolutely cannot say, I turn off it.
Okay, that is the nugget. That's the thing that makes you instantly sound more natural. I turn the stove on, and then I turn it off.
Yes. That little rule makes a huge difference. And it applies to a lot of these kinds of two-word phrasal verbs. But as we'll see, not all of them.
Fantastic. So we've already covered 4 verbs and a really important grammar rule. The next step in the morning routine, getting ready. This brings us to clothing.
Yes, our next logical pair, put on and take off.
So put on means to, place clothes or an accessory on your body. I put on my work clothes. If it's cold, I put on a jacket.
And you notice how much more common that is? It sounds more fluid than saying, I dress myself in a jacket, Put on is about the action itself. You put on your shoes, you put on your glasses.
And then at the end of the day, when you get home, you do the opposite. Take off.
A very satisfying action. You take off your heavy coat, you take off your shoes as soon as you get in the door.
And these two are just like turn on and turn off, right? They're also separable.
They are. You can put on the hat, Or you can put the hat on. And again, that same pronoun rule applies. It must be separated. I took it off, talking about the hat.
I'm seeing a pattern here. It seems to be for these verbs that involve a physical action on an object.
That is a very sharp observation. Yes, that's often the case.
So, wow. We've used 6 essential phrasal verbs just to get from sleeping to being dressed. You can already feel how important these are.
They really are the building blocks.
So let's shift a little from physical actions to more mental ones, gathering the things you need for the day. This moves us to our conceptual pairs.
And this next one is maybe the most common point of confusion I see, but the distinction is absolute.
Look for and find out. Let's start with look for.
Okay, so look for is used only when you're searching for a physical object, something you can see or touch that you can't currently find.
So I'm always looking for my keys or my phone.
Exactly. You're looking for your keys. A child is looking for their favorite toy. And it's used so much more than the word search in daily conversation.
Right. You'd go into a big store and ask an employee, excuse me, I'm looking for the hardware section.
Yes, because the hardware section is a physical place. Now here's the technical twist. Unlike turn on or put on, this phrasal verb is inseparable.
So I can't put the object in the middle. I can't say, I'm looking my keys for.
Absolutely not. It sounds, well, it just sounds wrong. The verb look and the particle for have to stay together. You look for the phone. You look for the address.
That's a huge distinction. So it's not about a direct action on an object. It's more about the direction of your search.
That's a great way to put it. So if look for is for physical objects, what do you think find out is for?
It has to be for information.
Exactly. Find out is strictly for information or facts. It means to discover something you didn't know before. You can't find out your keys.
Okay, this is clicking for me. I look for the train station, but I need to find out what time the train leaves.
Perfect. That is the exact distinction. You use Google to find out what the weather is going to be like. You ask a coworker to find out who's in charge of the new project.
So if you can just master that one rule, look for objects.
Yeah.
Find out for information. Your conversational flow gets a massive upgrade.
A huge one. And that brings us to our last pair for today, which is all about sequence. About continuing and returning.
Go on and come back.
Let's start with go on. The basic meaning is to continue. The party will go on until midnight.
Right. But it has a slightly different feel in conversation sometimes, doesn't it?
It does. We often use it as a form of encouragement. If someone stops telling a story, you say, oh, don't stop. Please go on.
Yes. It signals that you're interested, that you want them to persist. Like that famous old saying, the show must go on.
It emphasizes continuation, even when it's difficult. It can be a very positive, active verb.
Okay, so from moving forward to returning, come back. This one feels a little easier.
I think it is. It simply means to return to a place.
So if I'm leaving the office for lunch, I might say to a colleague, I'll come back in an hour.
It's the standard, informal way to say it. If you say, I will return in an hour, it can sound a bit formal, almost robotic.
Yeah, a bit stiff.
We even use it in greetings all the time. Welcome back. That just shows how deeply integrated it is into natural English.
So there we have it. 10 incredibly common phrasal verbs, all tied to the simple things you do every single day.
And I think if we synthesize all this, what the original material was really telling us is that fluency isn't about knowing the fancy single word alternatives like commence or remove.
Right.
It's about naturally using the two-word teams. Go on, take off, come back.
And the secret to making this knowledge actually stick, what makes this a real deep dive, is understanding those little technical rules we talked about.
Absolutely. The main takeaway for me is that rule of separability. For those action verbs like turn on off or put on take off, you have to remember that when you use a pronoun like it or them,
It has to split the verb, turn it off.
it must. But for a search verb like look for, that connection is unbreakable. It's always look for it. Knowing that difference is a real fluency accelerator.
And learning them in context, like we did today. Morning routine, technology, clothing. That makes them so much easier to remember than just studying a long alphabetical list.
Definitely.
So before we wrap up, we want to leave you with a concrete challenge. Something to help you bridge that gap between knowing these rules and actually using them without thinking.
This week, just choose one pair, maybe the one you found the most difficult, like the difference between look for and find out.
Okay.
And every single time you need to find an object or discover a piece of information, Just pause for a second and say the action out loud.
Ooh, I like that. So if I can't find my wallet, I literally say to myself, okay, I need to look for my wallet.
Exactly. Or if you're checking a recipe, you say, I need to find out how much sugar to add. That conscious practice is what makes the rule become automatic.
That's a great piece of advice. If you can integrate these 10 verbs into your daily narration and get that separability rule down, you will feel a huge boost in your conversational confidence.
An immediate one.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the nuts and bolts of daily English. Keep practicing those two-word teams.
And we'll talk to you next time. Keep learning.